time since I've got you on my mind. Yeah. Now we are here, and it's so clear. There's so much we can do, baby, just me and you. Steer it up, little darling, steer it up. Come on, baby, steer it up.
I just want to thank you all for being wonderful, and I think that this moment deserves to be tragically sad, and I think we're going to have a beautiful rendition of Danny Boy on the fiddle.
Steer it up, yeah, yeah. Pretty baby, steer it up. Little darling, steer it up. Pretty baby, steer it up.
Our number one story is the side hug. So on our first date, Joe's really anxious because he had something big happening the next day, and I think he was a little distracted, and we had been waiting a long time to meet each other. And in person. It'd been pushed off, and I was impatient. Like, don't make me wait, dude. I'm worth more than that. He showed me that he was worth the wait, and we had a lovely first date, which he ended with a very awkward side hug.
Sounds like Joey.
So on our second date, he made sure to, after we'd spent a lovely evening at dinner at the pier, at the beach house, and then we decided we were going to go to the arcade to golf and stuff, and play some games. And before that, before we got in the truck, he made sure to like give me a proper kiss and a proper hug, and he apologized for the side hug. And I made a joke at his expense, and he laughed, and I knew we were golden. I knew we were golden at that moment, and neither he nor I ever doubted it for a minute after that time. He was irreplaceable, and the world is a less wonderful place without him. So let's help Mick know what a wonderful guy he was and share some good stories for him tonight, okay? Thanks everybody for joining us.
I'm Erica, and this is Scott, and I've known Joe for about 10 years. When I first moved to Ventura, I lived in the place that Joe lived right before he moved in with Amy. He was my neighbor on the one side, and I was on the other, and then I moved out, and he moved onto my side because it was better. And I feel like Scott said it best. He said, we got a front row seat to Joe and Amy's love story. And I have all these fun stories about Joe and all these great memories, but I think that it's really awesome that we got to see their love grow, and Joe actually proposed to Amy on our back deck, and I can remember the day that Joe said to me, it was right before our wedding, he goes, Erica, I know I don't have a +1 to your wedding right now, but I really got to bring Amy. She's the one. And I was like, what? Joe, no, it's only been like a couple months. He's like, no, I'm positive. She's the one. And from that moment, it was like he just looked at her and he had stars in his eyes, and he was so head over heels in love. And like he had gone on some other dates with other people before that, and he was really trying to figure out this love life. And the second he met Amy, it was all about how this is the one for him and how he knows this is his future. And Amy, we met you and we all fell in love with you, our friend group. It was like she sat around the fire pit and just immediately fit in with everyone. So Mick, your dad loved your mommy a whole lot from the second he met her, and when you meet somebody special one day, if you don't have those stars in your eyes and you don't know if she's or he's the right one, just know then keep moving on until you find her, because your Amy is out there, and no matter how long you have with her, I know that Joe would not trade anything for, I mean, he was the happiest he could ever been those last 3 years. So that's, Amy, we all love you, you're our family, and
cheers to you.
Yeah, we love you.
Well, she knows how to start it, so that's my wife, Erica, and just like her, I had a similarly front row to the love story that was Amy and Joe. However, Erica's story is so in depth, I'm going to tell some side stories to it all. Along the way, obviously, she mentioned the wedding. It's one of the things about Joe was that he was always so genuine. I met Joe through Erica, but we developed our own relationship very quickly, and he's just a great guy. I think you're going to hear this over and over again tonight, I would bet, but they don't make him like Joe too much. And, you know, just from the start, we started at trivia, then Amy started coming to trivia, then it became fantasy football, and all of the mayhem that goes along with side betting on fantasy football, and then end up having to buy him a beer here and there because he always won fantasy football. And I think the lasting impression for Joe and I, one thing that sometimes not super apparent, is that we're both very technical people. He was a master motor mechanic, something that he kind of kept in the shadows. It was just his job sometimes, but he was the best. And as a fellow engineer, that shouldn't come Mick lightly, because he was very, very good at what he did, just like his mama. And if there was something they probably related a lot on, is being really the best at what they do. So going forward, be the best, Mick. You're gonna kick ass. Love you, bud.
For a while, before all the other youngin' cousins came about, Joe was the oldest and I was the youngest. And I would go to Grandma's house and I would see Joe towering over me, and I'd look at him and I would just run away. Just no speaking, just run away. And he came up to Grandma one time, and this is all told by Joe. He said, "Oh, I went up to Grandma one time and I said, 'Hey, is everything okay with Megan?'" And she's like, "Yeah, what do you mean?" "Does she have speech issues? Is she okay? Like, does she speak? Is she mute?" And she goes, "Megan? She doesn't shut up. Are you kidding me?" And I was just so nervous. I was just such a tall cousin, just big to me. And he was patient, very patient. And, after some time, he would call in and check in with me. And we would just have these conversations. And at first, he would call and I go, "Oh gosh, is this a family emergency? Why is my cousin calling me?" And we had some really good, memorable conversations, and we even went on a fishing trip. Kevin, me, Katie, Joe. The most memorable fishing trip I've ever had. Do you want to catch a lot of fish or want to catch some big fish? Nope, we want to catch a lot of fish. We don't want to risk that. And so we caught a lot of fish. We saw some dolphins, we saw some sea lions, sharks. And honestly, I don't even really like fishing. I know my family's going to hate me on this one. I named the fish, fed the fish, Bob the bass. I drink White Claws. I don't really fit in quite well, but they were patient with me. And it wasn't about my skill set of fishing. It was about teaching me something that they loved. And they passed that down. And I'm eternally grateful for that. And shit. Love you guys. Anybody else?
I just want to thank Alan and Kim for hiring Joey. from the beginning. We always loved him. He was a great fisherman and loved hunting and fishing with me. He loved sports and
He was a Budweiser machine. We all know that. He loved his Bud. I think it turned to Bud Light.
by the mouth.
He loved Bud Light. That was his favorite. He also loved. So, Joy was like family, and every day I go to work, and I see Joy every day, you know, especially with jobs. I mean, it's been so soon. We got these jobs, and Joy started them, and we're finishing them. So he was such a great employee, such a great person. He had a private side. I would see him after work. Sometimes I'd be coming back from the harbor, and I'd see Joy going down, and he'd go get a beer and just sit there after work and enjoy a beer, watching the sunset or watching the water. One day I go up to I'm walking up front, and there's Joy. This is the beginning when he worked for me. Because we work hard, and we cut ourselves every day. It's like if you don't cut yourself, then you're not working hard. And I walk up there, and there's Joy at the sink. And I go, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "I got a cut." And I'm looking at it, and I go, "Are you kidding? I've had bigger sores on my..." And I just left it at that.
Oh, God.
I said, "Get back to work." I'll tell you, this really doesn't feel real. We're all here. He had so many friends, so many people that cared about him. We are all going to miss Joy forever. I'm going to miss him every day when I go to work. And it's unfortunate that the wrong people go. It really is. But we all loved him, and the support that's here is unbelievable. So thank everybody for coming, and we love you, Joy, and we're going to miss you forever.
Forever.
Okay, I'm going to talk about Joe. I'm going to call him Joey because that's his name is. And I want to thank Alan because Alan's taken care of Joe for so many years, and I appreciate it. Alan's legit. He's as good as they come. He's always talked very highly of you, and he doesn't talk too highly of many people, but he always said, "My boss is the greatest boss he's ever had." And the story I'm going to share with you right now is a story that happened tonight. Okay, I'm going to tell you a story that happened tonight. That I've been texting back and forth with Amy, his wife, for the last couple weeks. Where's Amy? Amy, where are you? Amy? Okay, I'll tell the story anyway. So Amy came and gave me a hug, and we didn't know what to say. And I said, "Amy, thanks for coming." And she laughed at me, and we both cried. Amy, you're the best thing that happened to Joe, but we all love him to death. Joe's one of the greatest there is. And Alan, thank you very much, sir, for taking care of him. I know you don't want to hear that, but that's what you're going to hear. Sorry, thank you. Thank you.
This is probably, I would say, Joy's best friend right here. That's all he ever talked about was Evan.
It's tragic.
Everybody's got me in the cheap seats. You can hear me. I'm holding it close enough. Kevin's been over there critiquing people's holding the microphone stands. Something I've been thinking about for quite a bit of time. When Joe lost Mike, Mikey was his best friend, and so many times I sat with Joe and I tried to tell him it was a whole lot like Mike was this big giant star that when it exploded, he took up so much space, took up so much love with everybody that when he left, we all sort of fell into it, and I never thought I'd experience something like that. And then we lost our Joe, and it's been like that, and I'm trying to reconcile the fact that it's it's a good thing that he took up so much space with all of us. So many of us, I'm meeting people for the first time, but I know Joe was the best. Best friend I'm ever gonna have. I never want to try to replace that. Amy's talked to us quite a few times about this village that surrounded Joe. And that little guy over there.
This village right here. Right here. Oh yeah. There for Mick.
We've all got Mick.
There for Mick.
We've all got Amy. We've all got Sheila. We still have Joe. He was just too big of a gift for any of us to let go. He's not gone. He's our buddy forever. He's here forever. Thanks everybody for being here. What I can say is Joe very much, my dad, who's right over here, very much brought me up as a fisherman, fishing lakes and freshwater. But it was Joe and Mike that brought me to the passion of saltwater fishing, and I very much saw it in them, and even Kevin over there, whatever he's doing. But the fish that Joe always got after was the white sea bass, or occasionally it was the tuna, whatever his quarry was. That's what he went after. He went after with absolute passion. But Joe took me out, Kevin out. We took the seabirders before we had the tail chaser, and the white sea bass were around. That was the fish that was eluding me, and he liked to point that out at every opportunity he got. That was the fish that eluded me.
There we go.
And Joe was off to the one side of the boat. I was on the other side of the boat, and Joe hooked into something, and my line started to run. I was terrified that somehow my line was wrapped around Joe's. I knew the hell that would bring. So I just let myself spool it out, and then finally Mike reached over the side. Mikey was with us, and he gaffed that white sea bass, but I was still onto something, and I brought it up, and we both had white sea bass that day. And suffice it to say, Joe's was bigger. It always was. Joe got the jackpot fish, whether it was worth money or not. So, but.
Yours is about a squisher.
It may have been a squisher category, but that's okay. But it's a bit. But I used to regale to Joe as often as I could. That fish was the most incredible fish I ever caught in my life, and he did that for me, and he was every last bit of everything.
Was that your first sea bass?
First and only, but thanks for bringing that up.